Hey guys, my name is Didier Konings. I work as a lead digital map painter for the Aaron Sims company. In this tutorial we'll be using Photoshop to create an abandoned city map painting. This session will cover the entire process, starting with gathering ideas and sketches to completing the painting. Ready to hand over to the compositing department. The video is sped up so you guys can see the complete process. During this you will get an in-depth look of each step and technique, and I will give you an inside look about working as a matte painter in a studio environment. So these are the three concepts I created to quickly explore some ideas for the matte painting. Before starting on the real matte painting, it's handy to first explore some ideas so they can be presented to the director, art director, or visual effects supervisor. For this project, I first presented them to Aaron, who is the art director of this project. He gave me some interesting notes and ideas on these concepts, like which direction he likes to go. I ended up with a mixture of the composition of the third concept and the lighting and mood of the second concept. So with that in mind, I started the first step, preparing the clean plate. Right now the composition is very symmetrical. I'm planning to have a main focus more on the left street building. So for that I found a photo to create a street corner situation on the right foreground, which also adds more depth. With this base composition, it's time to get rid of other people on the street. So let's start first with this guy. There are different kind of techniques to clean up and erase things away. I will try to show around all the different ways I use the most during this tutorial. So for this man, I paint him away by using the eyedropper tool to swap the pixel colors. The best way to do this quickly is using the hotkeys. So by alt clicking and paint with the brush tool, that's on 100% opacity. Later I switched onto 50% opacity to blend the colors together more. I also keep in mind where the light comes from and where it hits the edges. Beside that, it's good to have a background knowledge on how to draw basic shapes in different lighting situations. So since there are so many humans in this plate, I tried to start blocking in some cars to cover up the people. This saves us some time. So to erase all these people, I copied the clean plate and cut out this building section and flipped it horizontally, just warping it in the right perspective. And then I made a layer mask and invert that, and this allows me to paint away the section I want. For the street I did the same way as I did it to erase the man walking in front of that street pole. Just swap the pixels from the street section near the building with the eyedropper tool to get the right colors and values. In the end, a lot of things will cover this street section anyway, so it doesn't have to be 100% accurate. During painting, it's important to sometimes squint or blur your eyes if you paint. Then you can see if it's starting to work. Later you can get into detail and the textures and everything else once the values are blocked out well. So if you look at the building, it isn't how it's supposed to look, but for matte painting it's always good to aim for a 100% accurate reproduction of the plate. Try to stick to the plate as much as possible, but I always say respect the plate. But in this case I know we won't see much of the building anyway, but keep that in mind. I found it fun because erasing things probably can be quite a challenge sometimes. So right now I'm adding some details and trying to define the connection between the building and the street by adding some shadows. This part of the street is turned out to be a little bit soft, so I add a texture to break that a little bit up, give it more detail and stuff. This area is now completely cleaned up. Slowly starting to feel abandoned already, so that's good. If you use elements from other photos, it's always good to double check if it's clean and cut up well. Like this car, sometimes there could be some trash of the original photo or some transparent bars or something like that. Always check that. I found this cool wrecked bus here. first thing I do is check if this image will work with the plate before I start cutting it out. So it looks like this might work. While using the drag tool, you can press any number on your keyboard to quickly change the layer opacity. Always press 5, which makes it jump to 50%. So always cut things out. Most of the time when I have photos with no solid background between the object I want to cut out, I always do the following thing. I make a new layer and give it a contrast color. So in this case I make a solid blue, as you can see. I drop the layer behind the image layer. Now on the image I create a layer, a mask. There I paint a line around the edges of the bust. Now the blue color from that layer underneath reveals itself. So I'm not painting with blue. And you can clearly see the line. Now when I switch the alpha channel, the only thing you have to do is fill in the lines with the bucket tool, and there you have your clean alpha mask. Now I kept in the street, so I could paint it away by hand. It's handy to have that ground shadow part in. So I placed the bust behind the cars. Especially with matte painting, you want to have a logic kind of way of building up your layers. Keep in mind that the object that is most near the camera is on top of your layers. Now I always keep my layers intact and use adjustment layers to do corrections. This allows me to paint or reveal adjustment layers via the layer mask. Here are some yellow caps that will be my foreground elements. I use the same technique as the bus to cut them out. Again, make that blue solid color and put it underneath as a reference. And just follow the edges of the car while painting on your layer mask. Now I want to destroy the traffic light. The first step is erasing the whole thing. So I copied my original layer and I paint away the pole with the spot healing brush tool. It's a very powerful tool which most of the time works, but sometimes with architectural lines it could be give some artifacts. So in some cases I cut out this section and simply paste it on top, and then I warp it in the right perspective, and then I fix some connections by painting it. So now the traffic light is deleted. I can bring back the original layer and start to separate the pole from the plate. As you can see, there is a big contrast between the pole and the sky, so I use the select and then color wrench tool to cut out a section. The rest I cut out by hand. Never cut things out on your layer, always use the layer mask. And again, underneath put that solid blue layer for reference. Most of the time you want to be able to bring back erased parts, so that's always good to have that layer mask. By right-clicking on your mask, you can pop into the Refine Mask menu. So So right click on your layer mask, and there you can do some final changes to your alpha channel. So right now here comes the fun part, destroying the pole. And just ask yourself here, what was the reason this thing broke down? And also think about the physics and the weight. Is it possible or believable? That's very important. Try to look as much as possible to reference of such as broken traffic lights or such kind of things to get some ideas. I always like to create a little tension every moment. This cable could snap, for example, and the pole would probably fall down further. So just to make this situation more dangerous or interesting for the image. So I continue erasing reflections of humans and check that around, and paint away lights or light sources. Probably the power left the city without electricity. So that's very important to think about when you do this post-apocalyptic settings. So I painted away the humans in the reflections and the light sources. Another element that always works is creating cracking and swelling in the street. So I paint the original image on some parts back, so it blends the two images more together and lets it feel more as if it's the street from the plate. Most of the time I color correct photo elements by eye with levels or curves. There are also other great tools in Photoshop for doing that, which I'm going to show you guys later. Sometimes the blending options can be very handy for blending in photo elements or textures. If you want to keep the darkest parts in an image and erase the brights, I always use the multiply. And if you want to erase the darks and extract the lighter parts, always use the screen. Those are the blending options I use the most. And then with the levels, I try to match the black levels to the right values. Always be careful with your values when you start using the blending options. Most of the time it's going wrong there, and you can easily have black spots or value problems with the blending options. So always keep that in mind. So I have here some textures of dirt, and I warp them in the right perspective with the warp tool and transform tools, and then invert the layer mask, and then I reveal back the dirt by painting it. And this allows you to have control over where you want to see that dirt coming or where you want to place it. So I have this very cool texture here of burning metal, And I already have an alpha layer from the car, so if I drop a layer on top of that, I can let them use the same alpha, as you can see. So if you keep the Alt key pressed in and hover over your thin line that separates your layers in the layer menu, you'll see a drop down symbol. And if you click, then you'll see that the layer on top is using the alpha as the layer underneath. Yeah, that way you can keep that layer within your alpha. If you press Ctrl T or Command T, then right click on your canvas, it will reveal a drop down menu where you can choose warp and transform tools. It's also very handy when you place these textures. So as you may have noticed, this canvas is a really wide angle. It's like a panorama. Probably this is a shot where you slowly follow a main character that's stepping out of the right building and going into this environment, and then the camera pans to the left, and it's following the main character. And slowly, when the camera pans and is following the main character, you will, as an audience, see more and more of the environment. So when the camera pans to the left, more and more will be revealed of the environment. And that's making it interesting, and that's why I kept my right side in the shade, and the left corner building as more kind of a center of interest, as a center point in the composition. So that's why that bus element is really working great there. What's also good to have on this kind of wide panorama shots, so it's never going to be seen like this. It's always gonna be a cutout of this. So it's always good to have a layer on top of everything, where you mask out the final resolution. So you can check with that layer and how it's going to look like when this shot is final. Most of the time, when you got a plate, it is when it's handed over from the compositing department, they already prepped it. So that means that the lens distortion is removed. Later on, that lens distortion will be added back in the compositing. So during the matte painting process, you paint a wall painting without that lens distortion. And what's also good to do during painting is put your painting in black and white to check your values. You can do Command Y or Control Y to use that as a hotkey for a color setup in Photoshop. So right now I did the same trick to destroy and make the cars weathered and rusty with a combination of painting and texturing. Destroying everything is always really fun to do. Breaking all the windows and thinking about what would happen if the city was abandoned for 10 or 20 years. Yeah, there is no one who could claim this every day. Everything is gone and everything is going to start its own life, and yeah, nature takes over. Yeah, and the reason I think this is really fun is you can during this process you can think about what happened here. This all kind of little scenes that happened. Why is this car broken? You can think about that kind of stuff during making this. Somebody flew through this windshield or something like that. you can make it up. Let your fantasy go. These kind of textures are always working great to establish the fact that these buildings were left alone for a long time and were exposed by a different kind of weather situations or atmospheres, and in the meantime, and it's also great for that post-apocalyptic setting. When you place these kind of textures, it sometimes works that something small can be used for something big, just as a texture from a pancake that where you on the structure, and it's a really small thing in our world, but it can be used for worlds or planets or something big, or rock landscapes or something like that. So something terrible happened here, as you can see with the bus. This bus driver was really panicking over something, so he drove this bus backwards into the store, or he came from the other side. Probably this type of building would have cracks or starting from point to impact. Now I hand paint the bus that's in shade, and place a building with some concrete textures and some debris. Think about what should happen when a bus drove into this building, and then you can get all these kind of ideas, like these cracks in this building, blend them in and color correct them so you keep the blacks. This setup in a multiply blending option. And the thing is with matte painting that you most of the time want to use as much as photo elements as possible, but sometimes you need to fix some things in paint that's easier, but that are most of the time just small things, like this element with cracks to create this really nice cracked texture on this building. But right now I'm hand painting the cracks for the that are going in the other direction. That's what you do during matte painting. Just fix these kind of things with paint, and try to use as much as photo elements as possible. So because of the bus that drove into this building, all the windows probably would have been blown out by that impact. So right now I'm blocking in some building in the distance that's leaning on another building. Later I will replace this building by a better building probably, but yeah, I need to have this feeling for the composition, so that's why I need to block this out. And right now I'm experimenting with some things and try to make it interesting. Your eye is being led by the path in the middle that ends in the view to the distance. This building is really interesting element for that. Yeah, for the windows I also think how should this glass break, and yeah, just look at reference of glass. How does it look like when these thin glass pieces are broken? And yeah, for this I I swapped the black values of nearest black pixels around this glass, and I use that to paint away the glass, or create the fact that it's broken. Yeah, probably a fire or a explosion or a shock wave was the cause of all these windows that are shattered. And yeah, keep in mind during painting, make all the windows be shattered in a different way, so it makes it interesting. Yeah, for this window I created a adjustment layer and add a big contrast in that layer, and then invert that alpha channel and destroy that window by revealing that adjustment layer by painting it back. That makes it look like we're looking through the glass and seeing what's behind it. And then after that, add some texture of broken glass on top of it, blend it in. Yeah, for in the distance I'm using something different. Instead of painting all the glass, all the broken glass, I use a photo of some shattered windows and blend that in. Also works. Now here are some photo elements of plants I shot in my dad's photography studio. Since there is enough contrast, I could easily cut them out with the color range, which you can find under the select menu. Then adjust the alpha with the levels. And yeah, I have a lot of grass pieces cut out already that I've saved to a huge library of elements I've gathered and photographed over the years. It's always good to have this kind of libraries. So right now I'm going to place the vegetation in combination with painting the grass with some grass brushes. And you can also create brushes from these photo elements, which yeah, is always handy to have. So here's a little experiment to create some shadow really quickly. I copied my layer of grass and vegetation elements, and then I darken it to black with the levels, and then I put it under my layer, and right now I'm revealing that and I also blurred it, which creates this kind of shadow for the plants. While painting this grass, think about that grass comes out of these cracks. So first thing what happens is that the street cracks open, and around that areas the grass starts to grow out. Yeah, I also shot some ripped clothes that I will hang around. Yeah, it always subconsciously gives the impression of clothing ghosts. This would look especially disturbing when it's animated or replaced by some plates of ripped cloths on the wind. But yeah, it's a really cool element. It makes it kind of this kind of horror town or ghost town or something like that. So yeah, it's a cool element. So right now I skip a little part here where I replaced the sky for a more daylight setting, as you can see. And I also gonna create a breakup in the path by creating a more kind of swamp setting in the middle. So I apply image, then from the horizon line, flip the image horizontally. This is a method to give you a nice reflective ground surface. Then invert the layer mask and reveal back the layer by painting the layer back. Yeah, this water breaks up the ground and helps to let your eye flow to the middle and to the distance. After that, you can also drop textures in the layer mask channel to break up the water. This makes it more believable. Yeah, as you can see, I ended up with this sunset daytime setting. Aaron really liked to see a normal daytime setting with a bright blue sky in contrast with the abandoned and overgrown environment. And that's a great addition to this piece. The days go on, even without humans. Purple represents my shadow, and the yellow would be the spots the sun would hit. And the cyan arrows represents the sunlight direction. That's also good to know. So with this plan, I established a sunlight spot on the left building to create a spotlight, and left the rest in shadow. I created one adjustment layer that I make everything look like it's in the shade. Now I created this lighting setup with adjustment layers. I brushed away the sections that are not lit by the sun in the layer mask, and I used that same alpha on a adjustment layer, but inverted the alpha. And for that adjustment layer, I used that one to bright and warm up the spots. So you have one for the shadows and an inverted version for the spotlights. This allows you to paint sections that were supposed to be in the shade, and yeah, this creates this kind of depth, as you can see in this balcony section. I always like this kind of daytime settings where the sun is almost down. Some call it the golden hour. Since we already have the alpha of the yellow caps, I can easily use that to wrap some lines around the car edges to make a quick selection out of that. Also, as you may notice, I replaced the damaged leading building in the distance for a better one. one that's more readable. Now I want the building to show up in the reflection of the reflected building. Just a hint. So I flip my canvas 90 degrees, holding the R key allows you to flip it. Now you have to imagine that the end of the building is our new horizon line. So once you see that, it's the same trick we did for the water. Now I feel like this traffic light isn't quite working, it isn't readable enough, so I want to replace it for something more interesting. Now there is this technique called match color. You first have to create a new file, there you paste down the image, so the match color gives you the option to color correct by using the color information from another image. It's a powerful tool, so now I do it again, but then without the color correction filters. I just wanted to show you guys the effect. So and then there is also this common issue you have that you have to keep consistent with the image quality. As you may notice, the image behind the traffic light is from another photo element. So that's more blurred than the original plate. So in some places the images are sharper and some are more blurred. I try to replace some sections or slightly blur some areas. Also during this stage you can look where you want to add some textures, just some details. Also try to move around your painting and see what things need to be fixed. It's also good to flip the canvas from time to time to get a fresh impression in this, especially in this state. So right now I'm adding a little bit atmosphere behind the traffic light to separate it a little bit more from the background. It helps it reading and let it pop out more. So I'm gonna replace this add object on the cap for a better, sharper version. Like I said, you have to keep consistent with this if you use other elements. It's always good to have a very big reference library for this kind of things, with rusty cars and photos of abandoned places and stuff, to generate yourself some ideas about how a car would look like if it's left alone for 20 years, or abandoned houses that are that are destroyed and overgrown by plants. This will give you some very good ideas about this kind of when you do this kind of things. And also it's very good as a map painter to keep your eyes open when you walk around in the world. And I always look around how light reacts and how things looks like, and you save that to your memory. And sometimes during this kind of processes of when you're painting, it pops up that kind of ideas, or you look into your library, what I said, and this will give you some great ideas about or some more natural results to your painting, and it adds a lot to your believability. This is the center focus in our painting. I want to add a little bit more green on this section. This establish more our overgrown idea, and it makes it more rich. So just a slightly little green on this area. Yeah, painting is really the most fun part, or the relaxing part for me for matte painting. And it's what I enjoy the most, and I like to paint and set up your brush well, and add details to stuff, and really zoom in or on some sections and try to make it come alive. Most of the matte painters do concept art or something like that on the other side, and yeah, then it's always good to paint or to keep painting. And like I said before, you try to use as much photos as possible. Like you see here on this plan, something isn't working well, so I fixed that with paint, and it's always that combination of photo and paint on top that's making it blending to one piece. As you may notice, I flipped the canvas horizontally, so yeah, all these kind of things just pop out for me right now that aren't working well, and try to make this area, for example, more richer or something like that. But that's always good to check, and most of the time an art director or supervisor comes by, and they always have a fresh look on your work, so it's very valuable as an artist to write all those things down and make a list of things that needs to be done. So I always have pen and paper on my desk, and when they come by, I always write that things down, and just check it off when it's done. So these are really the last steps to make things a little bit more interesting. Right now everything it looks good, so yeah, it's just adding some details, or try to make it look more interesting on some spots. So yeah, just try to fix everything, blur this section out, look around in your painting, what needs improvement, or what can be better. So this is really the last step, and then after this you're gonna collapse all the layers, or and use all the mats you have to separate them. Right then it's ready to hand over to the compositing department. Yeah, from my experience, it's usual that it's bouncing back from the compositing department, because some things need to be changed, or some mat isn't working, something like that. So yeah, if this painting needs to be projected on a 3D surface, then yeah, sometimes you have to paint some extra things you don't have right now. So it's really a collaborating process in the end. Yeah, it really depends on the studio. Sometimes a matte painter does only the matte painting, or sometimes the entire shot. it depends on the pipeline you're in. Yeah, maybe in another tutorial I will talk about more about that, focusing more on a 3D environment or compositing environment for a matte painter. So but for now this is it. So alright, I hope you guys enjoy this tutorial, and thanks for watching.